Do you care for the holy sites? Or rather, do you care about the holy sites? And when I say holy sites, I mean the holy sites, the places, the shrines in the Holy Land. Who owns them? Whose responsibility is it to care for them? Is it the local church, the universal church, the government? These are some of the questions that we will be addressing today. But first, consider this. There is a lot going on in the church, and the Church of the Holy Land is no different. And to help us sort out the sites, the shrines, and what is happening in the Holy Land, we're now joined by Father Gilles Bourdeau. He's a Franciscan, and he is with the Commissariat, the Holy Land Commissariat in Canada. Welcome, Father.
Thank you so much.
So, Commissariat, what is that? What does it mean, the Holy Land Commissariat?
I mean, that means an organization, in Canada, but like many other organizations all over the world, in the Roman Catholic circles, obviously, who is taking in charge the interest of the Holy Land mission in Israel or Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, but from a Canadian perspective here. Also, I do work in Ottawa. I run an office, and where we do have the responsibility to build up a good relationship between our Catholic Church in Canada, our Catholic institution, many parishes, obviously groups who are interested by that mission in Holy Land, but to build up that bridge between Holy Land and here.
I've heard some places it's called the custody of the Holy Land. Is it the same thing?
The commissariats, if we use that terminology, are a local organization to support the custody of the Holy Land.
So in the Holy Land it's called the custody.
Custody.
But outside of the Holy Land it's called commissariat.
Yeah.
And the word commissariat? Because I thought commissariat meant like the store.
No, not the store, not even security business.
That's right, the sheriff.
Or legal, organization. It's just people who are commissioned to serve in different parts of the world in order to deepen the consciousness that Catholic population can have about the mission in Holy Land, and not only to support also consciousness, but at the same time to raise money in order to support that mission that is given to the Franciscans since maybe 600 years.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that because you are a Franciscan. So how is it that some of these places were given to the Franciscans to care for?
That's an historical question, in one way. But around 1342, with the perspective of that many holy sites were abandoned or neglected, and that nobody was there maybe to care for them, the Pope of that time, Clement VI, produced a document asking to the Franciscan at least to care for some holy sites, not all of them, because we were in a very different political structure.
But there were Franciscans in the Holy Land already?
Yes. Not many, because with the consequences of the Crusade, many Christians were kicked out, and the Franciscans were not very numerous at that time, but at least they were going in and out on a regular basis. But at one point, the Pope decided that these sites must be kept by an ongoing presence, and he asked to the Franciscans to start that type of ministry.
So originally it would have only been to take care of the sites
and also pastoral services, like example in the Holy Sepulchre. in other sanctuaries also, at least to be a presence, and also to be able to serve Catholics or Christians who were traveling in these parts of the world, pilgrims, and who wanted to have also pastoral services. We don't care first, I mean, for the sites as such, because these sites are visited. The people are coming, I mean, to venerate the presence and the memory of Christ, and they want to gather there. And also we were asked also to serve these sites because people were coming to build their faith, to discover Christ,
like pilgrims,
to pray, and well, to do their own devotions.
Now, at that time, you said in the 13th or 14th century, in the 14th century, were there a lot of Christians living in the Holy Land?
Not too many, because, I mean, due to political factors, I mean, many Christian community, many of them disappear, or some communities were also looked after with different churches. But anyway, I mean, they were Christians, and the ones also who were coming with pilgrims, not too many, but enough at least to ask to the regular presence of a community will be able at least to do the liturgy, to serve the pilgrims,
so that there will be
to help them. Yes.
Now the word custody, correct me if I'm wrong, it means guardian. To guard.
Yeah.
So does that mean that the Franciscans are guarding these places, taking care of them for someone else? I mean, they don't belong to the Franciscans.
Legally speaking, a part of the property is under the responsibility of the custody, but we keep as a good shepherd.
Yes.
As shepherd, you know, we keep these sites in the name of the Roman Catholic Church. We are not the owners in a sense, in a spiritual way or in a legal way, but we do keep these sites in the name of the Roman Catholic Church for the benefit of all the Christians all over the world.
Because there's a shared custody also, like I know in some, I don't know if all of the sites are the shrines, but you have the Melkites,
yes,
and the Franciscans and the Greek Orthodox, or how does that work?
Well, first, I mean, the Franciscan presence is mainly at the service of the Roman Latin Church.
Okay.
Okay. And obviously, I mean, you have also many other churches like the Melkite, Maronite, Ethiopian, Chaldean.
Armenians,
I mean, there are quite numerous, 14 of them in that area. We are there in the name of the Roman Catholic Church.
So in the places where it's shared, I mean, you're doing a specific role to, or the care for the Latin Church.
Yeah.
But the
in
places
in some
shared,
basilicas, like example, Holy Sepulchre,
like the Holy Sepulchre, yeah.
Bethlehem.
Church
There, in fact, we are sharing the places with other Christian churches, Orthodox, and also Ethiopian sometimes.
Okay.
Not Melkite.
And you said that it's not specific to the Holy Land, what people might think in Israel, but also in Lebanon and some places outside of Israel, Palestine?
No, but not for the holy sites itself. I mean, like in Lebanon, in Syria we have some holy site, example, close to Damascus. One magnificent sanctuary dedicated to Paul, St. Paul. There, obviously, we are alone, but anyway, I mean, this is a sanctuary.
Right.
But mainly the sanctuary that are shared with other churches are the Holy Sepulchre and Bethlehem. Bethlehem, and there is a kind of an agreement, a real agreement between these churches, how we will use and also serve the Christians from all over the world who do come in this sanctuary, and how we will also pray and help people also to pray and to celebrate their faith in these sanctuaries.
In Israel and Palestine, where a lot of these places would be considered touristic places or heritage places, does the local government, the Israeli government or the Palestinian government, have any responsibility in helping care for these places, or do they?
No.
Not at all?
No, not at all. We are, that's one reason also that structure of the commissariats were founded maybe 100 years and 35 years ago, all over the world, because in fact the economical and responsibility for these sites were under the responsibility of some external power. But with time, these powers like France, Italy, Spain, were no more able to sustain the economical responsibility for these sites. And the Franciscans realized that if we do not call the attention of the whole church, it will be almost impossible to go on with these responsibilities. Also, with the Pope Leo XIII in 1887, it was decided that that structure of the commissariats will be expanded all over the world.
Right.
And also that there will be also on an annual basis a pontifical collection in order to call, not only to call the attention for financial issues,
right,
but at the same time, the sites that we have or that we are keeping in the name of the Roman Catholic Church are also a common responsibility for all the Catholic churches in the world.
Right.
We must feel and behave as we are being responsible for these sites.
So that all of
also, the Leo XIII created that collection. And that collection is going on now for 125 years.
And I think a lot of people are familiar with the collection. I want to ask you more about that, but we're going to take a little break. So don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to learn a few more ways that we can all support the work of the Franciscans in the Holy Land. So don't go anywhere.
Let us know your perspective. Email us at perspectives@saltandlighttv.org or reach us by mail. Perspectives at Salt and Light Television, 114 Richmond Street East, Toronto, Ontario, M5C 1P1. Or call us toll-free at 1-888-302-7181. Let your perspective be heard.
The Year of Faith invites us to go where it all began. We know, as the early church knew, Jesus, who encounters, knows, and loves us. The Church of the Holy Land continues to witness to that hope. For this church to continue its social and charitable works, for it to continue the maintenance of our holy sites, it needs our support. Our solidarity also allows Christians to continue to be witnesses of reconciliation and peace. The Commissariat of the Holy Land in Canada is a bridge between the Church of our country and the Holy Land. On Good Friday, let's look after our own spiritual heritage, help support Christians and the mission of the Franciscans in the Holy Land. So that's one obvious way that people can help, and I think a lot of people are familiar with the Good Friday Pontifical Collection. But you said earlier that it's not just about money. So if we are to feel that these holy places belong to all of us, how can we live that? Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's so far away, a lot of people haven't been there. How can I behave like they're mine?
Well, I hope that I will be able to answer, but first, I mean, this is the birthplace of our Christian faith. And if we do believe in the coming of Christ, I mean that he born, he lived, he suffered, he died, he risen from the dead in that area. I mean, each time that we do meet, example, to celebrate liturgy or to commemorate his life, his teaching, and each time that we meet also to build up the church, we have to remember that all of us were born in Jerusalem.
Okay.
All of us, I mean, we were in one way cared by the first Christian church from Jerusalem. And that message went all over the world. But I mean, this is one, each time that we do relate to Christ, each time that we try to build up our church, we do have to behave as a sister church. We are sharing that faith with also Christians who are still living,
there.
receiving, living, and transmitting also to the area, but also all over the world, the same faith. And Christians in Holy Land, and also the responsibility for holy sites, is a common responsibility for all the Catholic parishes, movements, churches all over the world. And this is not only the responsibility of the local Christians, and especially I will say for the holy sites, because the burden or the responsibility for these sites is so heavy that I don't think that it will be possible for a local church to survive or to live, to face first their own issues, our Christian community, but to face all the issue, you know, of the holy sites. It will be very demanding.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, because I think that automatically that's what people would think. Well, if there are Christians in the Holy Land, it should be their responsibility, or the responsibility at least of the local church, the eparchies or dioceses or however they're organized. But you're saying that they're not capable because of...
They are capable, but even the Patriarchate of the Latin Patriarchate, to be able to do his own ministry in many parts of the Israel or Palestine or even Jordan, they already need also the support of other Catholic international organizations. But when we think in the name of the Roman Catholic Church, holy sites, like not only buildings, stones, but I mean all the activities surrounding or going on with these sites, obviously you need a presence that the local church is not able to support alone.
Right.
And that's why also the Franciscans were asked, or other groups also, but I mean, I'm talking mainly here about the Franciscans. And they take care of, you know, about the holy sites. And with our help, and the help of all Catholics all over the world, we are able, in fact, to maintain, in the name of the Roman Catholic Church, these sites, and also to do the regular, I would say, ministry.
Right. Do some of these sites, like I'm thinking let's say the Church of the Annunciation in Nazareth, does it also function as a parish?
Yes. In some sanctuaries you have also a parish under the jurisdiction of the Latin
of the Patriarchate
of Jerusalem.
But the Franciscans would still be at that church?
Yeah, at the same time
at the sanctuary.
Being responsible of the sanctuary, which is very demanding, because you have to think in terms of millions of people
that come through.
Like in the last 2 or 3 years, I mean, more than 2 million pilgrims. So 2 million pilgrims, you know, you have to think about the organization, welcoming people, celebrating, you know, liturgies, animating prayers, hearing confession.
Right, okay. So when, for example, Canadians or Americans or anyone supports the commissariat so that the Franciscans can take care of some of these sites, these sanctuaries, how does that directly help the Christians in the Holy Land?
Well, first we have to understand that the Pontifical Collection is divided or share. Example, for the Franciscan, at least maybe 35% of the collection coming from all over the world, including Americans, I mean the American Church, Catholic Church, or the Canadian Catholic Church. We do support with that money maybe 35% for liturgical or pastoral services.
Okay.
And also we have to think that the Franciscan are animating also 25 parishes in all that area.
These are parishes that are not shrines or sanctuaries?
No. Okay. And there are certainly 35% of the overall collection that is going also for education, social programs, where in fact we are able to support or sustain a lot of Christian groups or family organization. And we do with that collection under the jurisdiction of the Congregation for the Eastern Church support also other Eastern churches do benefit from that collection
I see.
in order to support some of their activities for the Christians in Holy Land.
So the Good Friday collection is not just for the maintenance of the sites, but all those things that we saw at the beginning, the jobs, the university scholarships, the homes for the sick and the orphans, or the schools that you have are also supported by that same collection.
Yeah, that's what we usually say in the last years. I mean, obviously we're not collecting money for the stones alone.
Right.
The stones and the living stones, persons, human beings, Christians.
And those living stones are us here too.
Yeah.
So when we support them, we're actually supporting ourselves.
And we have to think that in Jerusalem we are at home.
Mm-hmm.
This is our home. And this is our family. And we do belong to the same, I hope that people think that we do belong to the same church.
I think we do.
Same assembly.
Yeah. Okay, we have to leave it there, but we're going to conclude our conversation by listening to the Word of God. We leave the last word to the Word. And this is a passage from the 8th chapter of Paul's letter to the Romans. If God is for us, who is against us? He who did not withhold his own Son, but gave him up for all of us, will he not with him also give us everything else? Who will bring any charge against God's elect? It is God who justifies. Who is to condemn? It is Jesus Christ who died, yes, who was raised, who is at the right hand of God, who indeed intercedes for us. Who will separate us from the love of Christ? Will hardship or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? As it is written, for your sake we are being killed all day long. We are accounted as sheep to be slaughtered. No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am convinced that neither death nor life, nor angels nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God in Christ Jesus our Lord. That's from Paul's letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verses 31 to 39. Would you like to share a brief reflection, Father?
This text is reminding us that our foundation as Christian is Jesus, and that nothing and no one will be able to separate us from Jesus. So each time that we think, especially during the Holy Week, we are living with Christ, his passion. We are living also his life. We are living his death, his sufferings. So each time that we come back into this central figure and person, where we do come also to the foundation of our faith, our hope, our love, and also how we gather together, as Christian brothers and sisters, and we do build our faith, our Christian journey, always in relation with Christ, and never being divorced from that relation with him. So for me, this is central, fundamental.
Thank you very much. Those are good words for us to, as we live our faith, as we continue our journey of faith. Father Gilles Bourdeau, it's been a great pleasure having you with us here. Father Gilles Bourdeau is the Holy Land Commissariat in Canada. If you want to find out more about the work that they do at the Commissariat, just go to their website, commissariat.ca. Now, we heard from him, we've heard his perspective, and now it's time for you to let us know your thoughts. Write to us, perspectives@saltandlighttv.org, or visit us on Facebook and join in on the discussion. That's all for tonight. We'll see you next week, and may God continue to bless you and your home.